Hello, injury attorney Jamison Allen here. We get a lot of calls from people who are in a bad situation, where they're in a crash, but they don't have auto insurance and now their car is totaled or not drivable and they don't know what to do. So what do you do if you're in that situation where you don't have insurance and now you have no way to pay for vehicle repairs? Well, we need to go back to the beginning because you might actually have insurance. A lot of people think they don't have insurance, but they're actually covered under their own or someone else's policy. So first, depends on the reason why you think you don't have insurance. If you haven't paid for a year, this isn't going to work. But if you're only a little bit past the due date, you might be in what the insurance company has in their policy as a grace period, where they allow you to be past the due date a little bit and still be covered. So if you're only late by a little bit, get that payment in, and you might still be covered under your own insurance. If that doesn't work, maybe you're driving a vehicle owned by someone else so that you don't have insurance, but the auto might. And depending on the facts, the car owner's policy might cover you. You might be of an age or be placed on a policy of a family member so that you're on your parents' policy or some other family member. So check that out if that might apply. Then there's other situations where if you were on the job, if you were working as an employee, the employer's policy might cover you while you're in the course and the scope of your duties. And that can apply even if you're not technically an employee, even if you're an independent contractor doing work for who is called a principal. That principal's insurance policy might cover you. There's even more possibilities. Let's assume that you think the crash is caused by the other driver and 100% is on the other driver. Most crashes are not quite that simple. There can be multiple causes, multiple people, multiple parties at fault. So maybe you share some fault, or even if you don't, it might not all be on the other driver. Some of that fault could be on a city entity, a state, a school. Perhaps the crash happened at a school and they are directing traffic in a unsafe way. Well, that school might have liability and might be an option to pay for your vehicle. Another possibility is that the crash was somebody ran a stop sign and hit you. And part of the reason why they ran the stop sign is that a homeowner allowed the shrubs, the trees, to grow over the stop sign. Well, now that homeowner, or perhaps the homeowners association, has some liability for the crash. So that's an option for you. Of course, going back to whether or not the other person has insurance, if you don't have insurance and you think that they don't, the other driver might, for the same reason that I said before. Perhaps they're in a grace period, they think they don't, so don't just assume if someone tells you they don't have insurance that that's not an option. They could be mistaken, or of course they could be lying because they don't want an insurance claim on their record. So check that out. But let's assume that that driver is being honest, doesn't have insurance. Go through the same list that I mentioned. Is there a policy perhaps with the car owner? Is that driver working for an employer? Because in that situation, those policies would apply to cover you for any fault of that driver. And then there's even possibilities beyond that. If the driver is intoxicated, you might have what's called a dram shop claim. If a bar or restaurant overserved that person or otherwise did something negligent in the service of alcohol, then in that situation you might be able to make a claim under their policy. So lots of possibilities here where there might still be insurance. So that's the primary way in which you need to try to solve the problem, is to see if there is insurance, because there are times when there is and you don't know. If you still end up in a situation where there's no coverage for anything, then you are back into a situation where you have to pay for it with cash or get a loan, or ideally, if the other driver's at fault, get the other driver to pay you. So you don't have insurance, they don't have insurance, but maybe they don't want to be in further trouble. So maybe they have some cash, maybe they have savings that they're willing to pay to resolve the issue, and you can settle it and get your vehicle fixed. If that's not an option, then you need to find your own way to resolve that through a loan or whatever it is. Not ideal, but even there, you would still have the ability to try to get reimbursement from the other driver through what would probably be a small claims action, which you could file yourself, and you don't need an attorney to do that. So the last bit of advice I'll give you is that if you do end up in that situation, make sure it doesn't happen again. Make sure that you have auto insurance if you're driving, and make sure that your vehicle, if you loan it to someone else, that you are protected, and be smart about who you loan your vehicle to. Make sure your policy allows you to loan the vehicle to that person, and use discretion. Don't give your vehicle to somebody who you don't trust. Not a smart idea. If you have any other questions, give me a call. Jamison Allen, I'm the injury partner at Marc Lopez Law, 317-632-3642. Stay safe out there, my friends.